this counteroffensive, this Ukraine counteroffensive that has failed, many in the U.S. intelligence community knew it was going to fail, and many in the U.S. government in general, but they pushed it anyway. And that shows how little they care for Ukrainian lives. They didn't care that they were sending people to their death for a lost cause, as they didn't care when they sent U.S. soldiers into Vietnam. They don't give a flying shit about the lives of those that are sent into this like cannon fodder, which I believe is where they got the term. But this is from Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, and this is hyping the and they do amazing work. Anyone who reads them, you know that they are not like they're not trying to be outrageous. They're not like me in that they're not yelling curse words every 3 sentences. I think they should. I mean, I think they should put more in there. But they're a very serious organization that reveals how wrong our mainstream media is on like a daily basis. And they talk about how the U.S. press hyped the Ukraine counteroffensive propaganda even as they knew it was wrong. Here's from that article. It's been clear for some time that the U.S. corporate news media has explicitly taken a side on the Ukraine war. We all know that. This role includes suppressing relevant history of the lead up to the war, attacking people who bring up the history as conspiracy theorists. Me included. Basically, if you just mention the real life history of what's happened in Ukraine, you are a conspiracy theorist. But if you completely make up utter bullshit stories like the Chinese balloon that's going to get everyone. There's a balloon, boss, the balloon. Then you're not a conspiracy theorist. You're a mainstream media information merchant. You are just giving people the truth. So this role includes suppression of relevant history, attacking people who bring it up as conspiracy theorists, accepting official government pronouncements at face value, and promoting an overly rosy picture of the conflict in order to boost morale. Thank you, Sailing Prepper, for the donation. Appreciate it. For most of the war, most of the U.S. coverage has been as pro-Ukrainian as Ukraine's own media, now consolidated under the Zelensky government. Well, even U.S. officials did not believe that this counteroffensive would amount to much. U.S. media papered over these doubts in the run-up to the campaign. At one point, they even called Ukraine casualty averse, which if you decode that euphemism, it is the U.S. government that is not fighting and dying over there, right? It's these U.S. government privileged, almost exclusively white assholes saying to Ukraine, the casualty averse means you aren't dying enough. Get over there and die a little more. Why are they not dying as much as they should be? That's what casualty averse means. And it's repulsive to see these incredibly privileged assholes say such a thing. Even if it were said by the top brass of the Pentagon, the majority of them have not seen action, quote unquote. The majority of them sit in an office and tell people to go die. Thank you, Underhill, for the donation. And he says I should use it to buy drugs. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you. You didn't specify which kind of drugs I should buy. So, maybe I'll snort a little Robitussin tonight and really get wild. Okay, back to Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting. In the run-up to the counteroffensive, U.S. media were full of excited conversation about how it would reshape the nature of the conflict, right? Now, I know a lot of you are smart enough not to watch mainstream media, so you might have missed this, but there was a fervor headed into this counteroffensive about how grand it was going to be and how Russia was going to be defeated, et cetera, et cetera. It was hilarious to watch. Even I, knowing very little about like what the Ukraine military's capabilities are and that kind of thing, I still knew it was bullshit. There's no way that a massive nuclear power is just going to be brought to its knees by the remaining Ukraine forces. It's just not a thing. It doesn't matter how many Abrams tanks we send over there or whatever, cluster bombs. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg told Radio Free Europe he was confident Ukraine will be successful. Lindsey Graham, the senator, said in the coming days, you're going to see a pretty impressive display of power by the Ukrainians. As for his prediction, Lieutenant General Ben Hodges told NPR, which I'm sure they didn't push back, said, I actually expect they will be quite successful. Former CIA Director Petraeus, author of the overhyped surge strategy in Iraq, said, I personally think that this is going to be a really quite successful counteroffensive, and the Russians are going to have to withdraw under pressure of this Ukrainian offensive, the most difficult possible tactical maneuver, and I don't think they're going to do that well at that. Do well at that. He meant the Russians are not going to do well. And you'll notice that all these people that said this crap that were completely wrong. Andrew also throwing me money for drugs. I really do appreciate the drug money, and anybody else who wants to throw in drug money, I'm all for it. Is it something I said today that that made everyone think I really need some drugs? Boy, Lee's drugs seem to have run out. Well, I don't know what's going on with him, but he does not have the amount of drugs we were hoping for in this episode. Despite the soaring rhetoric presented to audiences, Western officials understood the counteroffensive was all but doomed to fail. This is such a key point. They fucking knew. They knew they were sending people to their deaths for a lost cause, and they don't care because the proxy war is not meant for Ukraine to be successful. I mean, they knew it was a lost cause. The U.S. thought it was going to bring Russia to its knees by various sanctions and things like that. The U.S. actually correctly surmised that it would force many European countries like Germany and France back into a vassal state system underneath the United States. Much of that has happened, so you can call that some success. And of course, the U.S. used this whole war as cover to blow up the Nord Stream pipelines, which may have been 80% of their goal to begin with. But they don't care that Ukrainians are dying hand over fist, hundreds of thousands, and they knew this counteroffensive would fail, and it has failed. And here we are.